Have you ever wondered if helping others, while noble, sometimes leads you astray? In our quest to be compassionate and to lend a hand, it's easy to find ourselves entangled in situations that leave us drained, frustrated, and wondering if our efforts were ever valued. Stoicism, a philosophy that guides us in rational thought, self-control, and resilience, invites us to examine the people in our lives and asks us to consider whether all deserve the help we so readily offer. In this video, we'll walk through 9 types of individuals who, for various reasons, are not open to the change or support we might wish to offer. Some hold tightly to illusions, others are wrapped up in self-absorption, while some may see kindness as weakness and use it for personal gain. By the end, you'll understand how Stoicism encourages us to act with discernment, to protect our energy, and to recognize when stepping back from certain relationships is not only wise but essential for personal peace and growth. This journey begins with the subtle and dangerous allure of the Opportunists, those who exploit the goodness of others for their own gain. Each profile will bring you a new perspective on the importance of protecting your mental and emotional boundaries. And as we conclude, the final type may reveal a surprising insight into your own path of resilience, inspiring you to apply the teachings of Stoicism to navigate these relationships with wisdom. Stay with us. The insights ahead may just change how you view yourself and those around you. Let's start with the first type of individual to whom you might just want to say no. 1. The Opportunists. Who are the Opportunists? Opportunists are those individuals who see kindness as an opening to take advantage. They identify empathy as a vulnerability, something they can leverage to secure their wants, without true regard for others' well-being. While lending a helping hand is often an admirable quality, Stoicism reminds us that wisdom lies in knowing when to extend that hand and when to withhold it. Have you ever felt like someone was taking advantage of your goodwill? They appear whenever they're in need, but rarely seem to offer help or reciprocation in return. The opportunist may disguise their self-interest with flattery or temporary gratitude, leading you to feel obligated to assist them, even though their intentions lack sincerity. It's essential to ask yourself, are my efforts truly valued, or am I merely a convenience? How to identify the opportunist. In recognizing the opportunist, watch for patterns. They often make frequent requests for trivial favors or matters they could easily manage independently. They may appeal to your sense of generosity, exploiting moments of vulnerability. Does this person often seek help without hesitation, but fall silent when you need assistance? Is their presence fleeting, often limited to times of need? Stoicism emphasizes the importance of reciprocal relationships, where both parties benefit from mutual support and understanding. In Stoic terms, friendship is not about one person taking while the other endlessly gives. Instead, it is a partnership built on shared values, respect, and a balance of give and take. When someone repeatedly seeks only to take, Stoicism urges caution, as unchecked generosity can easily become exploitation. Stoic approach to opportunists. A Stoic response to the opportunist is one of tempered generosity. Epictetus reminds us that while we cannot control the actions of others, we can control how we respond to them. In dealing with opportunists, Stoicism advises us to act with discernment, to recognize where our energy will be respected and reciprocated. Extending empathy need not mean becoming a well of endless favors. Rather, it is wise to be cautious, to offer help where it will uplift both yourself and the other person. Imagine 2 scenarios. In the first, you help an opportunist who takes your kindness and repeatedly returns only when they need more. In the second, you offer help to someone who values your support, responds with genuine appreciation, and contributes positively to your life in return. Which scenario brings you greater peace? Stoicism suggests that true friendship fosters inner harmony, and that sometimes saying no is not selfishness, but wisdom. Setting boundaries with the opportunist. Boundaries are not barriers. They are guides that ensure our relationships align with our values and bring us peace. When dealing with opportunists, clarify your limits respectfully. If a request feels unreasonable, you might consider saying, "I'm unable to help with that right now." Simple, firm responses serve as gentle reminders that your support has limits. Stoicism teaches us that self-respect grows when we protect our energy and reserve our kindness for those who value it. Are there people in your life who may take more than they give? Remember, Stoicism counsels us to align our actions with rational thought, compassion, and self-preservation. It is neither unkind nor selfish to set boundaries. Rather, it is a mark of wisdom and self-control. As we navigate through these profiles, keep this question in mind. In protecting our peace, are we not also cultivating greater strength? Now let us move to another personality type, those who may not intentionally exploit but are consumed by their own interests. Meet the self-absorbed. 2. The self-absorbed. Who are the self-absorbed? The self-absorbed are those who view the world as revolving solely around their needs, desires, and feelings. To them, everything is personal, and their perspective is often the only one that seems to matter. These individuals may not intentionally drain others, but their inability to see beyond themselves often leaves others feeling unheard and unseen. Have you encountered someone who, upon hearing your successes or struggles, quickly redirects the conversation back to themselves? Perhaps you found yourself sharing a personal challenge, only for them to dismiss it because they weren't affected in the same way. These individuals tend to approach life with an "it's all about me" mindset, failing to recognize the needs or experiences of others. Recognizing the self-absorbed. A self-absorbed person often diminishes the experiences of others. They might interrupt conversations to highlight their own achievements, downplay your successes, or even dismiss your struggles as insignificant. While they may not be malicious, their behavior tends to drain those around them. Stoicism teaches us to seek balanced and reciprocal relationships. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, that a meaningful connection is one in which each person respects the other's perspective. Is there a self-absorbed individual in your life? How often do they respond to your feelings with empathy? Consider whether they genuinely listen or simply wait for an opportunity to steer the conversation back to their own lives. Stoicism guides us to connect with those who recognize and appreciate the equal worth of others' experiences. Stoic perspective on the self-absorbed. When we encounter the self-absorbed, Stoicism invites us to practice patience, but also discernment. Epictetus teaches that we must manage our expectations, recognizing that not everyone shares our desire for mutual respect. In dealing with self-centered individuals, it is often wise to approach conversations with realistic expectations, to limit emotional investment, and to reserve deeper connections for those who truly value us. Imagine a relationship where one person constantly demands attention without offering it in return. Stoicism encourages us to question whether such a relationship nurtures our growth or if it simply depletes our energy. If the latter, we may find peace in gently distancing ourselves, maintaining compassion but setting boundaries. Setting boundaries with the self-absorbed. Setting boundaries with the self-absorbed need not be confrontational. If they dominate a conversation, you might redirect with a simple statement like, "I'd appreciate it if we could also discuss what I was sharing." Stoicism values assertiveness, tempered by empathy, guiding us to protect our peace without bitterness. Is it possible to continue this connection without compromising your values or well-being? Remember, true strength often lies in choosing where to invest your time and energy. As we continue, let's consider the next type of individual who may be less focused on self, but far from grounded in reality, Meet those who live in false realities. 3. Those who live in false realities. Who are the reality deniers? Some people live in self-created illusions, constructing narratives that protect them from confronting uncomfortable truths. They cling to comforting fantasies, often avoiding the harsh realities of life and preferring a world shaped by their desires rather than by truth. Stoicism, which emphasizes courage and self-awareness, teaches us to confront reality honestly. Yet those who live in false realities often resist this introspective journey. Have you ever met someone who seems impervious to reason, who insists on viewing the world through their personal lens, even when facts prove otherwise? They may distort reality to shield themselves from pain or disappointment, but in doing so, they refuse the growth that comes with self-reflection. While it may be tempting to help them see the truth, Stoicism counsels that such efforts may be futile unless they are ready to face reality themselves. How to identify those who live in false realities? These individuals often have fixed beliefs that are unaffected by logical argument or clear evidence. They may reshape situations to fit their preferred narrative, rejecting uncomfortable facts or perspectives that conflict with their worldview. Is there someone in your life who avoids responsibility by blaming circumstances, or who maintains beliefs despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary? Stoicism teaches us the importance of clarity in perception and honesty with oneself, virtues that these individuals forsake in favor of personal comfort. A Stoic approach encourages us to accept that we cannot change those who refuse to acknowledge the truth, and that sometimes stepping back is wiser than attempting to dismantle their illusions. Stoic response to reality deniers. The Stoic response here is one of acceptance. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that people act according to their understanding of the world, even when that understanding is flawed. We cannot force others to confront reality. We can only offer guidance if they are willing to accept it. Epictetus advises that each person must ultimately choose whether to pursue truth or to remain in comfort. Picture a scenario in which you repeatedly try to help someone see the truth, only to encounter resistance and denial. Stoicism suggests that in such cases, your efforts may be better spent elsewhere, on those who welcome truth rather than hide from it. Stoicism calls us to recognize our limits, to discern when our energy would be valued rather than dismissed. Approaching reality deniers with boundaries. In interacting with reality deniers, it's wise to set emotional boundaries. Instead of trying to change their perspective, offer your views without expectation. By detaching yourself from the need for them to see the truth, you preserve your inner peace. Stoicism encourages us to guide without force, to accept that some may choose to remain in their illusions, while we, on our own path, continue to pursue wisdom. Are there people in your life who cling to illusions, refusing growth? As you consider this, let us now turn to another group, those who consistently avoid responsibility. They may see the truth, but they shy away from owning it. Let's examine those who evade accountability. 4. Those who evade responsibility. Who are the responsibility dodgers? Responsibility dodgers are individuals who never accept blame, who attribute all failures or shortcomings to external forces beyond their control. In their world, they are always the victim, never the architect of their own misfortune. For a Stoic, accountability is a cornerstone of self-improvement. Those who refuse it are unlikely to grow or learn. Have you found yourself in situations where someone consistently avoids accountability? Perhaps they blame others for mistakes or dismiss their faults as mere happenstance. Stoicism teaches that we must own our actions and face our flaws, as this is the path to wisdom and resilience. By evading responsibility, these individuals deny themselves the chance to grow and the opportunity to forge character. Identifying responsibility. Dodgers. Responsibility dodgers deflect blame, make excuses, or attempt to downplay their role in negative outcomes. They may shift responsibility to bad luck, other people, or the unfair nature of life. Are you in a relationship or friendship where someone refuses to acknowledge their part in conflicts or issues? Stoicism encourages a life of introspection, where we accept our role in every situation we face. Without accountability, growth becomes impossible. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself of the importance of self-examination, urging us to consider our actions honestly as a step toward betterment. Stoic perspective on evading responsibility. In facing responsibility dodgers, Stoicism teaches us to exercise patience, but also to avoid undue influence. Epictetus reminds us that we are responsible for our own responses and interpretations. We cannot control others, nor should we try to change those who refuse to self-reflect. If we are drawn into their cycle of blame, we risk compromising our own clarity and peace. Imagine the emotional toll of continuously attempting to reason with someone who refuses to acknowledge their part in a situation. In such cases, Stoicism guides us to protect our energy, recognizing that without accountability, there can be no meaningful connection or progress. Setting boundaries with responsibility. Dodgers. When dealing with responsibility dodgers, set clear and firm boundaries. Stoicism values honest communication, allowing us to express our perspectives without expecting change. You might say, "I believe each of us has a role in this, and I'm willing to examine mine if you're open to examining yours." By approaching such individuals with boundaries and clarity, we honor our own values without engaging in fruitless arguments. Does someone in your life continually dodge responsibility? Reflect on whether their behavior affects your peace. As we move forward, remember that Stoicism teaches self-respect and resilience. Now, we turn to another challenging personality: those who harbor pessimism, often imposing negativity on everyone around them. 5. The Perpetual Pessimists. Who are the Perpetual Pessimists? The Perpetual Pessimists are those who seem to find fault with every situation, who focus relentlessly on the negative aspects of life. They dwell in an atmosphere of defeatism, their outlook colored by a belief that life's challenges are insurmountable. While Stoicism teaches us to accept and even embrace difficulties, it also teaches us to rise above them, seeing each challenge as an opportunity to build resilience. Perpetual pessimists, however, often reject this perspective, allowing negativity to cloud their thinking. Have you ever shared an accomplishment with someone only for them to respond with skepticism or doubt? Or perhaps you've noticed that no matter how much encouragement you offer, they always seem to dismiss it with reasons why things can't improve. Perpetual pessimism is a cycle, one that drains not only those who embrace it, but those around them as well. Identifying the perpetual pessimist. These individuals tend to dwell on what could go wrong rather than what might go right. They may consistently highlight the negative side of events, resist positive outlooks, and often discourage others from taking risks or pursuing goals. Stoicism teaches us to observe our perceptions, challenging us to see life objectively and not to fall victim to needless worry. A perpetual pessimist, however, clings tightly to their negative interpretations, frequently dismissing more balanced or optimistic views. Do you know someone who seems impervious to hope or encouragement? Their negativity may stem from a place of fear or disappointment, but Stoicism suggests that engaging too deeply with such pessimism can detract from our own peace. Stoic perspective on the perpetual pessimist. Stoicism advocates for a balanced perspective, where we face difficulties with courage and gratitude, understanding that challenges are integral to our development. As Seneca observed, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult." In dealing with pessimists, Stoicism reminds us not to let ourselves be overwhelmed by their outlook. While we can offer support, we must also protect our well-being, recognizing that each person has their own journey and that some may choose negativity. Imagine a friend who continually criticizes your ideas or belittles your aspirations. Stoicism encourages you to consider whether their perspective contributes to your growth or whether it hinders it. When negativity becomes overwhelming, wisdom lies in limiting our exposure and setting boundaries. Approaching the perpetual pessimist with boundaries. In dealing with pessimists, establish limits on how much of their negativity you allow into your life. You might gently steer conversations towards neutral or positive topics, expressing empathy without allowing their outlook to influence your own. Stoicism teaches us that empathy, when coupled with self-protection, maintains our inner balance. Remind yourself that their worldview need not define yours, and that you have the strength to uphold a perspective grounded in resilience. Do you sense that certain relationships bring more harm than good? As we move forward, we'll explore another challenging personality, those who evade learning and change. Let's examine why they resist growth and how Stoicism advises us to approach them. 6. Those resistant to learning and change. Who are the resistant to change? These individuals cling to established beliefs and routines, often unwilling to reevaluate their perspectives or adapt to new information. They may fear change, holding tightly to their comfort zones, which ultimately stunts their growth. For a Stoic, life is a journey of continuous learning, and wisdom is found not in rigid thinking, but in the willingness to adapt. Those resistant to change miss this vital aspect of growth, often blocking themselves, and sometimes others, from the opportunities that change offers. Have you ever known someone who steadfastly refuses to consider alternative viewpoints? Perhaps they insist on doing things their way, even when evidence or advice suggests otherwise. Their reluctance is rooted in a resistance to self-reflection, often preventing them from progressing toward a wiser, more flexible approach to life. Recognizing resistance to learning and change. People resistant to change often respond to new ideas with skepticism or outright rejection. They might dismiss suggestions for improvement, defend outdated methods, or downplay the importance of learning from mistakes. Stoicism values openness to learning, understanding that knowledge is a dynamic pursuit. The resistant, however, close themselves off, choosing comfort over growth. Do you know someone who resists even the gentlest suggestion for improvement? Stoicism teaches us that true wisdom requires embracing change, adapting our beliefs, and recognizing that clinging to outdated ideas limits our potential. Stoic perspective on resistance to learning. A Stoic response to those resistant to learning is one of acceptance, tempered with caution. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that each person follows their own understanding and that wisdom cannot be forced. Epictetus advises us to lead by example, showing through our actions rather than trying to convince those who are closed off. If someone repeatedly resists change, Stoicism suggests that we accept their path, allowing them the freedom to remain as they are without compromising our own journey. Picture yourself in a situation where you offer advice to someone who dismisses it, choosing their way despite repeated failures. In such cases, Stoicism encourages us to maintain our distance, focusing on our own growth rather than attempting to change others. We cannot control their choices, only our response. Setting boundaries with those resistant to change. In interacting with individuals resistant to change, it's often wise to limit your involvement. Offer guidance without expecting it to be accepted, allowing them the freedom to choose whether they will grow or remain static. Stoicism values respect for others' autonomy, recognizing that personal transformation must be self-driven. Are there people in your life who resist growth? As we reflect on this, let's transition to another group: Those with expectations of privilege. They may not resist change, but they do believe life should conform to their desires. Let's explore this mindset next. 7. Those with expectations of privilege. Who are the privileged by expectation? Some people believe they are entitled to special treatment, that they deserve privileges without putting in the effort to earn them. This sense of entitlement often stems from ego or a misplaced belief in their inherent superiority. In contrast, Stoicism teaches that true worth is not found in unearned privilege, but in the cultivation of personal virtues like humility, justice, and resilience. Those with expectations of privilege often miss this essential truth, relying on demands rather than merit. Have you encountered someone who expects rewards or recognition without the accompanying effort? Perhaps they demand respect or authority simply because they believe it is their due. Stoicism challenges us to cultivate value from within, to recognize that true honor is earned through virtuous actions, not demanded by position or status. Identifying those with expectations of privilege. Individuals with entitlement often demand recognition or reward, regardless of their contribution. They may complain about not receiving special treatment or express frustration when treated equally to others. For Stoics, personal merit and virtue are the foundation of respect, and the expectation of privilege without merit contradicts these principles. Are there people in your life who expect others to cater to their desires? Do they seek special treatment, even when unwarranted? Stoicism invites us to view entitlement as a flaw that limits growth, as it prevents individuals from understanding the importance of effort and humility. Stoic perspective on expectations of privilege. Stoicism teaches that life owes us nothing. We owe our best selves to life. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the transience of status, reminding himself that power and privilege are fleeting. Those who expect privilege without effort miss the fundamental Stoic teaching that personal worth is cultivated through effort and virtue. In facing those with entitlement, a Stoic response is one of grounded humility. We do not feed their expectations, nor do we support their sense of superiority. Imagine a scenario in which someone demands recognition for work they haven't done. Stoicism advises us to recognize our role and worth based on merit, respecting others, but not elevating them unearned. By focusing on our own contributions, we avoid being drawn into the entitlement trap. Setting boundaries with the entitled. When interacting with the entitled, maintain your standards. Stoicism encourages us to respect all, but to offer special regard only to those who demonstrate virtue. If someone expects privilege from you, consider saying, "I value everyone's contributions equally." By setting clear expectations, you uphold your principles without feeding their sense of entitlement. Do you know someone who expects privileges they haven't earned? As we reflect on this, let us move to the next group, those who refuse to prepare for the future, living only for today and overlooking the responsibilities of tomorrow. 8. Those who fail to prepare for the future. Who are the unprepared? The unprepared are individuals who live solely in the present, choosing not to consider the long-term consequences of their actions. While Stoicism values the present moment, it also recognizes the importance of mindful preparation, seeing each choice as part of a larger continuum that shapes the future. Those who ignore this, who live only for today without a thought for tomorrow, often find themselves repeatedly unready for life's natural progressions. Have you ever tried to discuss future goals or responsibilities with someone only for them to brush it off as something to worry about later? The unprepared often favor immediate pleasures over long-term stability, opting for the comfort of now instead of the responsibilities of the future. They overlook a fundamental Stoic principle that life's flow is inevitable and foresight is a mark of wisdom. Recognizing the unprepared. People who are unprepared often dismiss future planning as unnecessary or trivial. They may avoid saving, disregard advice about responsibilities, and prioritize short-term enjoyment over lasting benefits. Stoicism teaches us to embrace the present without losing sight of what lies ahead. For the unprepared, however, future planning feels restrictive, and they often live with little regard for what may come. Do you know someone who repeatedly neglects planning, leaving themselves vulnerable to life's shifts? Stoicism reminds us that the present moment is intertwined with the future, and that while we should not live in constant worry, mindful preparation is a sign of self-respect and maturity. Stoic perspective on failing to prepare. A Stoic approach to those who fail to prepare is one of gentle encouragement balanced with detachment. Marcus Aurelius reminds us to foresee what is coming as a path to self-mastery. Yet he also notes that we cannot force others to see the wisdom of foresight if they choose not to. Stoicism invites us to focus on our own preparedness, setting an example rather than attempting to convince others to adopt our perspective. Imagine yourself in a situation where you urge someone to prepare for a major life change, only to be dismissed or ignored. Stoicism encourages us to recognize that we cannot control their readiness. Instead, we can demonstrate the benefits of preparation through our own actions, living as an example of self-discipline. Setting boundaries with the unprepared. When engaging with the unprepared, consider setting practical boundaries. You might clarify that while you respect their decisions, you cannot take responsibility for their lack of foresight. Stoicism values compassionate detachment, reminding us to offer guidance without attachment to the outcome. By letting go of the need to influence their choices, we protect our peace while maintaining a respectful distance. Are there people in your life who resist preparing for the future? As we consider this, let's turn to the final personality type: those who are resistant to learning altogether, whose minds remain closed to growth and change. 9. Those resistant to learning and change. Who are the resistant? The resistant are individuals who actively close themselves off to new insights, who cling to fixed beliefs and habits, resisting any shift in perspective. For Stoicism, wisdom is not a fixed state, but a continuous process of improvement, where one is always ready to adapt and refine one's understanding. Those who resist this, who refuse to learn or evolve, stagnate, missing out on the potential for inner growth and enlightenment. Have you encountered someone who refuses to consider a new approach even when their current one repeatedly fails? The resistant often see learning as unnecessary or even threatening, preferring to stay within the comfort of what they already know. They embody a rigidity that opposes Stoic teachings, which emphasize the strength of an open, adaptable mind. Identifying those resistant to learning. People resistant to learning are often defensive, dismissing constructive feedback or alternative ideas. They may cling to habits or beliefs simply because they are familiar rather than because they serve a purpose. Stoicism urges us to remain flexible, understanding that a closed mind limits one's potential for growth and fulfillment. Do you know someone who clings to outdated methods or beliefs, unwilling to consider that there might be a better way? Stoicism teaches us that wisdom is found in the willingness to question, learn, and adjust. The resistant, however, avoid these challenges, preferring comfort over self-discovery. Stoic perspective on resistance to learning. In dealing with the resistant, Stoicism counsels patience combined with acceptance. Epictetus teaches that while we can offer insights, true change must come from within. We can encourage others to learn, but we cannot compel them to open their minds. When we encounter those who resist growth, Stoicism reminds us to focus on our own journey rather than becoming entangled in their unwillingness. Imagine offering guidance to someone who refuses it time and time again, choosing stagnation over growth. Stoicism invites us to see that while their journey is theirs to navigate, we are not obligated to remain involved. By focusing on our own path, we respect both our limits and theirs. Setting boundaries with the resistant. When dealing with the resistant, setting boundaries allows us to maintain our peace. You might say, "I respect your choice, but I need to follow a path that includes growth." Stoicism advises us to maintain a peaceful distance from those who close themselves off, understanding that our energy is better invested in areas where it can yield positive returns. Do you have someone in your life who resists growth, leaving you feeling stagnant as well? Remember, Stoicism values relationships that uplift and inspire. Sometimes the wisest choice is to step back, focusing on your own journey toward wisdom and growth. Each of these 9 types of individuals presents a unique challenge, one that can leave us feeling drained, frustrated, or unappreciated. Stoicism teaches that true strength lies in the power of discernment, knowing where to offer our support and where to respectfully withhold it. By practicing discernment, we can build relationships that foster mutual growth and protect our inner peace. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "The best revenge is not to be like that." In dealing with difficult people, we need not succumb to resentment or bitterness. Instead, we can embody the virtues of Stoicism: patience, resilience, and self-control. By establishing boundaries, practicing compassion, and focusing on our own growth, we set an example of positive change, living in a way that reflects our values and ideals. Which of these personality types have you encountered in your life? How has Stoicism helped you to navigate these challenging relationships? Share your experiences in the comments below. We'd love to hear your insights. If you found value in this video, please like, share, and subscribe for more Stoic insights. Thank you for joining us on this journey, and may you find wisdom, peace, and strength on your path to self-mastery.